All right. Good evening. Welcome back. It is Wednesday. The full crew is here. Stephen Willis, Jeb Beecham, Jake Thomas, Boss Man, and Hammer, and myself, Corey Burton. We are here. We collect and join forces to give you SEC After Dark. And you know what also October brings that I didn't mention last week? It brings us football all week long. Watching some G5 football right now. Sam Houston and Western Kentucky, and then you had some Tuesday night action, all that good stuff. So we got football on wall to wall all week from here until the end of the season. So that's exciting. But we are presented by BetOnline.ag. It is your number one source for all your sports wagering needs. They have everything you could possibly bet on, and they have live odds. They have whatever you want to bet, they have. And so it's a great place to go with the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA to political props. Yeah, that's right. You can bet on the election. So when the game's over, head over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of over 150 slots games. So head to the website today, get in on the action on America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet online. The game starts here.
Yeah, and I want to point out to anybody that any hurricane that sounds like it's named after your grandparents, get the heck out of Dodge. It's just not worth it because they're all evil. They're all terrible. Hurricane Milton, forget that dude. My gosh.
Mm-hmm. I got the heck out of Dodge. It was a long getting the heck out of Dodge, but I did get out of Dodge. And I found some gas in Dunedin, Florida. Did I say that right?
Dunedin.
There's a Walmart somewhere on some random highway, and they had gas.
Yeah, we got gas, and we got extra gas because hurricane season, we assume, is not over. Yeah. So we went ahead and stocked up for the next one, and we got another generator because the one we had wasn't quite enough. And for some reason, we lost power and internet, even though in the yard it looked like I've put more debris on the road for when I trimmed my trees than we actually got. But we lost power and internet. It was ridiculous. But I'm here. I hope you guys had a good time last week. I did not. If you look at the hang in the Louvre situation, that was an absolutely horribly called game, and Lane Kiffin just choked it away. Lane Kiffin in a big game is not a good thing right now.
Well, let's dive further into it. So why does big game Lane becoming a thing?
I think it's because in this situation he was overconfident. He honestly gets cocky. He gets arrogant in the call, and all of the passes were 25 yards downfield. All were outside the numbers. There was no running game to speak of. Ulysses Bentley appeared for the first time this year. Looked like the best running back that Ole Miss had. It didn't make any sense. Defensively, for 59 minutes, they kept that LSU offense to one touchdown. They should have won that game. There was a fumble right at the end of the first half that was randomly weird stuff that LSU was allowed to kick a field goal. That was obviously a difference in the score towards the end. Ole Miss had the ball on the 25-yard line going in. If they kick a field goal there, it's a 10-point lead with like 7 minutes left. And they went for it on 4th and 1, which you never do on the road at Death Valley in the first quarter. In the first half, Ole Miss should have been up 35-7 or something like that. And it makes no sense. Ole Miss led that game all the way through, ended up losing that game. I will never understand what happened, but it did happen. Whit Weeks, who's the hang in the Louvre guy, that guy was everywhere, absolutely everywhere in that game. And Garrett Nussmeier competed his ass off. And at the end of the game was making throw after throw. So props to him, but that game was given to you also by Ole Miss.
That's okay. There you go. So what's next for Ole Miss? Is it run the table is your only chance?
Yeah. It is run the table is the only chance, and even then, there's a chance that it could not happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you totally control your own destiny. I don't think
Ole Miss needs Georgia to beat Texas.
Team. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think a 10-2 SEC team gets left out, but
it's squirrely. It'll be squirrely.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jake, talk to us. I mean, Alabama. I know you had a few choice words for Bama in our group chat, but they did end up winning the game, so it wasn't a total disaster. But like, it seemed like since the second half of the Georgia game, they've just been off. There's been something that's just been off. What's going on there?
You guys are good as mine, Corey. I don't know. It's something's very different. That first half of the Georgia game, even everybody in this chat was like, even Stephen made the comment that Alabama's the best team in the nation. The way they looked the first half of Georgia, second half of Georgia, they looked like a mediocre, middle of the run SEC team, and they've looked like that since then. Now, I'm not taking away from Vandy, but in reality, Alabama should have won that game. Vandy is a lot better, but it's Vandy. Vandy is better, but Alabama should have won that one. Maybe it should have been close and probably a close game, but still Alabama should have been on the winning side of that. And then after losing a big game like that, you need to come out and show, to the world that, okay, that was just a fluke. This ain't gonna happen again. You're united and you're fixing to, beat the brakes off of USC, South Carolina, and then you just come out there and losing at halftime and losing late in the fourth quarter, really 19-14, and you're like, what is going on with this team right now? I'm just speechless.
Yeah, you can kind of forgive the second half of the Georgia game because you think, they came out and they had that big lead, and so maybe they took their foot off the gas, got a little too excited, and you can't do that against a team like Georgia. So
right,
I get that, but after that, I don't know what's been going on since then.
It's absolutely nuts. There's a chance that after this weekend, 2 out of these 3 teams are going to have 2 losses, and that is Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee.
Yeah.
2 of those 3 teams are going to have 3 losses potentially.
Yeah,
I mean, one's guaranteed. So
it's going to be wild, man, and I think this is a weird year for the SEC because there's no dominant team, and after what Mississippi State showed against Georgia, they're not as crappy as we thought they were. By record-wise, they are, but
yeah, they are. Yeah.
Jeff Lebby is building
Georgia was not fired up for that football game.
Yeah, but Jeff Lebby is building something down there in Mississippi State. We'll just gotta give them a few years if they stick with it.
Yeah, all Ole Miss jokes aside, I think Mississippi State has got a little something. They believe in Jeff Lebby, whether that's legit or not. They believe in him, and I guess that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, there's a chance that A&M 41-3s them this weekend, though.
There's a very good chance. Absolutely.
Yeah. We said that in 2016 too, though. I'm not getting that.
That's true.
Whatever it is, there's just pee running down Texas A&M's leg whenever they play a Mississippi school. I don't know what it is.
Something in the water, man. We wish I could tell you too.
And Corey, you talked about how weird it is. We are looking at a missed field goal to win, for Vandy winning against Missouri, and they are at the top of the SEC with no losses in the SEC. That's how crazy it is right now.
Yeah,
they're 2 plays away from 6-0.
Yeah, they are.
Really?
It's crazy.
It's insane. Like that. This is a bizarro world. Like because coming into the season, it was like a divided hierarchy. Like we had 3 distinct tiers of teams in this conference. And now it's all just kind of lumped into one where you got like Auburn, who's kind of scrappy, but they fight and they're just kind of scrappy. You have Mississippi State, which is the same way. And then you have like all these teams in the middle, and then you have Texas, who's just right now they haven't been tested, but right now they look like the most complete team.
Yeah.
Hey, remember Diego Pavia beat Hugh Freeze whenever he was the head coach at Liberty.
Yeah.
Diego Pavia beat Auburn when Hugh Freeze was the head coach of them.
Yeah.
And Diego Pavia might beat Hugh Freeze again as the quarterback of Vanderbilt.
That's pretty epic if that happens, honestly. And Vandy has a chance to get to 5-2, which means they only have to win 1 game down the stretch to meet my prediction of a bowl game, which everyone thought I was freaking nuts when I said that in the year.
Everybody that watched this show all summer was wondering why we kept talking about Vandy over and over again. Everybody was like, but we had way too many conversations about Vanderbilt, and now you know why, because they're legitimately good.
It started because you were just trying to prop up my show, and then they proved everything I was saying and everything we were saying in as a result. And it was they made all the right moves. And to me, and I've been saying this on my show, I think the best move they made all offseason was Jerry Kill.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you could point to him.
The best move they made all season, all off season, was Diego Pavia.
Well, they don't get
Pavia. They don't get Pavia without Kill.
They got
Pavia was first. It was Tim Beck, Pavia, then Kill.
No, Pavia came after Kill because he followed Kill. Pavia was about to go to Nevada.
Good thing he didn't.
Yeah.
And then Kill's like, "Hey, dude, I'm going to Vanderbilt."
It's unbelievable what's going on in West End right now. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, you get Beck, then you get Kill, then you get Pavia. You got Nate Johnson without a coordinator, and then you got Beck, and then Kill, and then Pavia.
Then you get to tear down your goalposts and throw them in the river. I get it. Yeah,
I mean
taking down Broadway.
How it goes.
Yeah, carry it down Broadway, throw it in the river.
Yeah,
awesome.
This is going to sound very weird, okay? So, and I understand that, and I understand what I'm saying. But Vandy, please do not overlook Ball State and ruin the chance for game day to be at Texas or be at Nashville next week.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I think I did my whole. Okay, I hate to keep bringing up my show, but my whole episode yesterday, and it unfortunately got the worst numbers in the last 8 episodes. But I talked about, hey, it's imperative that you don't overlook. I did a whole show about that, or a whole first. About that.
They already did it with Georgia Southern. Don't do it again.
Georgia State, not even Georgia Southern.
Oh, Georgia State. Sorry. Yeah.
Hey, I just love how Diego Pavia he's rising to the occasion. I mean, we talked about this on Biscuits and SEC Live. Like, that was the perfect letdown spot for them last week against Kentucky. And hey, hand up, both Hammer and I picked Kentucky to cover in that game because we thought it was that letdown spot. It's a classic letdown spot. And Diego Pavia is out here, getting mad at T-shirt companies who are partnering with him. He's starting a podcast. Clark Lee's all over the place, doing interviews and everything. And credit to him. Some guys are just ballers. Some guys just rise to the occasion. They can have all this other stuff swirling around them. And Diego Pavia seems to be that guy. So it's been a ton of fun to watch. I want to tune into Vandy games now.
Hey,
honestly.
It's a fun offense, dude. I mean, I'm telling you.
They say that, America's team is the Dallas Cowboys. No, America's team right now is the Vandy State
Commodores.
Vandy State Aggies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Aggies, man. That's and New Mexico State won last night, actually.
Yeah, they did.
Oh.
But yeah, this is such a fun offense, man, because you got a guy that's a master at running it, and then you've got a guy like Tim Beck and Jerry Kill who have kind of crafted this thing, and they have a ton of wrinkles off of what they do, and it's just so much fun to watch.
Isn't this based off of the Tom Osborne, Nebraska offense in the 90s?
Yeah, it's a distant cousin from that. Yeah, it's a evolution of that.
Yeah, a lot of like option principles and
concepts. It's basically it's kind of like Willie Fritz meets Paul Johnson meets Tom Osborne mashup.
Oh, okay. Okay, just say scariest thing imaginable. That's all you got to say. Scariest thing imaginable.
You don't want to play it. That's what it is.
It's you're gonna get screwed because
I can tell you do not want to play it.
Because option teams condense everything down. The difference is option teams condense everything down and try to pack the box and then flank you.
Yeah.
This team spreads you the hell out, and then
they just try to hit holes.
They hit holes and they make you play on an island. And they make you tackle, and no one has been able to do it yet.
No.
I am almost certain in a Vanderbilt game when I was watching highlights, I saw a veer option.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
It's from the gun, but yeah, you saw a veer
option.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. And I'm looking down, it's like, is this Maryville? What is going on?
You saw a midline option too.
Yeah.
You saw midline.
Yeah, it's Paul Johnson. Yeah.
They do that from the pistols, which is they.
They're doing a great job too of using team schemes against them. I mean, I saw a bunch of breakdowns of film, on Twitter after the Alabama game, and they used Alabama's, I think it was cover one is mostly what Bama was running with press coverage. They were using that scheme against them. They were running the pick plays, and you would have these, wide open middle of the field that Diego Pavia was just picking them apart all game on. It was awesome to watch. I mean, sorry, Jake.
No, you're fine.
It was
It is
fun
what
to
it
watch
is.
Andy. Yeah.
It is.
He always talks about the Johnny Manziel Alabama game is what made him want to
Yep.
be a quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
He even had Johnny show
and then
up.
Johnny Football showed up in his interview. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Surprised him. That was kind of cool.
Which again made me think letdown game. It's coming.
Right.
Diego
His
Pavia,
phone's
he's-
blowing up all week.
Yeah.
He's going to hear from LeBron if he keeps winning, and he's going to be he's going to be courtside flying private jets everywhere.
Yeah.
Vandy already has Skip Bayless tweeting every day.
Oh Lord.
Jeez. Yeah, that's bad. I don't know who the equivalent of Drake is these days, but yeah, he's going to be on a flight to wherever the newest rapper is. He's going to be front row. I guarantee you. They get a couple more wins. Watch
It
out.
definitely ain't Diddy, that's for sure.
That's right.
So
But
Yeah.
just handle business against Ball State, and Vandy's getting one more. I don't know who it is, but they're getting one more.
I agree.
Auburn, South Carolina, they got a couple.
It's
Of
Auburn. It's gonna be
Texas.
Auburn for sure.
Texas.
right.
Yes.
Texas.
Better watch out. But no, it's going to be
It would,
Auburn.
it would be hilarious if they beat two number ones.
That would
Hey,
be.
they're what 5-1 all time against Texas, something like that.
That's
So,
right. Yeah, they own
Yeah.
all-time record.
Yeah,
They
7-3,
own
there you
it.
go.
They're the only team in the SEC with a winning record against Texas.
Yeah,
That's right.
God, that's just so. I love
They
that.
haven't played since 1920, and back in the early part of the century, Vandy was hell. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
that's the
Looks like
point.
they're back.
yeah.
Vandy's back,
That's
baby.
back like when the Yale and Harvard and all those rich boy schools were dominating football.
Mhm.
Vandy was one of them. I think the worst loss that Ole Miss ever took was 92-0 or something like that to Vanderbilt.
wow.
In like 1913, Steve was there.
Yeah,
Back when
Yeah,
all the nerds.
I think it was a junior.
Yeah.
Steve was a GA there. All right, let's talk Georgia, Texas. All right, let's talk Dogs, Texas. This is a matchup that everyone and their brother is picking Texas, right? Because why not? They've looked like they're the most complete team. They have Sarkisian calling the offense. They ran a mud hole through Michigan, which that win doesn't look quite as good now.
This is the first good team they've played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't played an offense. We talked about this on SEC Squad. They haven't played an offense that is. I've participated for the second straight week, by the way, Steve.
You should
They haven't.
get your flowers, man.
Oh yeah, they haven't played an offense that's ranked in the top 70 yet. And so, but then you got Carson Beck, who is in a weird place right now because he's not somebody that he's proving that he's not somebody that can elevate the talent around him. He's so dependent, and Mike Bobo's scheme is so dependent on having superstars like Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, and then the running backs they had, Milton and Dejon Edwards. They're so dependent on those guys being just superior talent that they don't know how to really function, and you're not really getting a really clean looking offense right now. They have spots, they have flashes, and when they adjust, they're okay, but it's just strange. It's not terrible, it's not great. It's just you get some great, some terrible, some great, some terrible, and it's just like a roller coaster.
And they've also been beat up a little bit on the defense side of the ball. Am I not wrong?
Yeah.
Am I wrong there?
Yeah, no.
They
you're not.
have.
They got Michael Williams back, so that'll help. And then their best corner hasn't been playing all year. He's a freshman, Ellis Robinson. But he will be playing. But he's their best.
I can't remember his name. Just forgive me. This is horrible pod. But the linebacker that played in the Under Armour game a couple of years ago,
Wilson?
Raylan Wilson. How's he doing?
He's great. He's been great. Him and CJ Allen have been like the bright spots. Like teams have a hard time running against Georgia because of those two. Defensive line has been a little bit disappointing. They just haven't quite found the right rotation there. But those two linebackers, Raylan Wilson and CJ Allen, both are making lots of plays.
Okay.
But yeah,
The
Raylan
kid-
Wilson from Tallahassee.
The key to me in this game is Georgia cannot afford to start off slow like they have. It seems like every first half this year.
Every game. Every
Yeah.
single game. They've started slow.
Texas is probably going to put up some points, so Georgia's got to match them and got to get a couple of stops. So, that's the key there is can that offense wake up enough for Georgia to hang with Texas this week?
They got a
Yeah,
fight in the game.
Yeah.
It's a start. That's a start game, is what that is.
Right.
Georgia needs to be the front runner in this game and put the pressure on Texas. Texas cannot be allowed to front run in this game because if that happens, Georgia has no chance of winning it.
No.
Yeah,
but
I
if
think-
Georgia can jump on them, they have a shot.
I think that will be kind of fascinating to see how Texas offense does, because I had this, of course, with Tennessee. I've already seen this where you kind of get this image built up of how good your offense is based off the talent level you've been playing, and then you hit teams that are much better defense and it doesn't really hold up. So I don't know. Yeah. So, and like you pointed out, Texas hasn't really played a great team yet. So it'll be interesting to see if their offense is really as good as it looks.
And all apologies to Mississippi State. This is their first really big SEC game that Texas is going to play. And I don't know if Texas is ready for the intensity that they're going to see, because Georgia's coming into that game as an underdog. Kirby Smart, a freaking master motivator, gets to actually say this team is supposed to beat the hell out of you.
That's right.
And this is the same coach that had his team believing when they beat TCU, everybody thought we was going to win 7 games, even though they were preseason unanimous number 1.
And they were picked to run the table too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And hey,
yeah.
He's a good salesman.
If Quinn Ewers gets over on that Georgia sideline, watch out. Kirby Smart, he might give him a nice
may
little
push
shove.
him.
Might
Might give him a little.
might give him the business.
Yeah.
Love.
Did you hear
Well, if that happens, Quinn Ewers is basically Christian McCaffrey with an arm. So if that happens, he might tear an ACL or something.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's true.
Kirby's going to take him out.
Yeah.
Does Texas have a QB issue? Because I saw that tweeted out this week or on X was, they may have a QB issue because, Archie Manning has looked really good, in his playing time a little bit. And Quinn is, he's kind of been hurt this year. So do they have an issue? I think Quinn is their guy, but Archie's sitting over there like, man, I may dip this year if I don't get any more playing time.
Well, Jake, Jake, I was going to I touched on this a little bit on Biscuits and SEC Live earlier, but the big matchup I'm watching is the first quarter to me is huge. As you guys are talking about, like, Georgia needs to get out to a fast start, and Texas is thinking the same thing, because you watched that game last week against Oklahoma. Quinn Ewers, he looked shaky in that first game, especially, and he was gifted a couple turnovers that allowed Texas to really, just blow that game out of the water, and it wasn't a game after halftime. But Quinn Ewers coming off of injury, and after Arch Manning has played so well, in those 2 games, I'm really interested to see if Quinn Ewers can get off to a fast start, because all eyes are on him right now.
Right.
And everybody knows that Texas fans love Arch Manning. And so if he starts out slow, if it's, 14-7 and Texas is barely up at halftime or something like that, and Quinn Ewers hasn't played well and he's thrown a pick or something like that, I think they'll stick with Quinn Ewers. However, it's going to get interesting.
Yeah.
And I think the big matchup to me here, just very high level, is Quinn Ewers versus this Georgia secondary.
Yeah.
Because the Georgia defense played so well in those first couple games up until the Alabama game, and then teams have started to score on them since then, and teams have started to find their holes. And Jeff Lebby's a good coach, but Mississippi State shouldn't be scoring 31 against this Georgia defense, period. They just should not be. So them scoring 31 on that defense, it opened up some holes. They got a lot of chunk plays in that game that Michael Van Buren, was able to throw for. So
President Van Buren,
yeah. What's that?
President Van Buren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
would you say that with Quinn Ewers, the eyes of Texas are upon him?
You could say that.
I've
Yeah.
been for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, you started this. The eyes are on you.
I'm muting everybody.
Yeah. So Georgia's just they lack discipline defensively. Like stupid penalties kept 2 drives alive that resulted in touchdowns for Mississippi
Okay,
State.
this game
is.
I'm sorry. No, this is that Georgia Southern game where they're running the option against Alabama 15 years ago and scoring 34 points. It wasn't a problem with Alabama other than the fact that they just didn't care, and there was no chance that team was going to win. It happens, and with Texas the next week, that was more of a letdown possibility than what Vandy went through. Everybody on that Georgia roster is looking at that Texas game.
Yeah, you could be right, but
I think you're going to see a whole different defense this week.
But it happened But can you explain the same breakdowns against Auburn that they had that led up points?
They might have let up points, but they still won by what, 17, 20?
Yeah, but there's
I mean,
That's
they're scholarship players too. I think we're being a little bit unfair. I mean, the Georgia Alabama syndrome between y'all two is just kind of weird. It's going to happen. Heck, Ole Miss got beat by freaking Kentucky.
But Ole Miss isn't good.
Yeah,
No.
Kentucky can't beat anybody but one against Ole Miss. I mean, this conference is weird this year, man.
It is very weird.
If
It's
Billy
parody.
Napier had a kicker with a pair on him, they'd have beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
I know. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what makes you think, Steve, I think kind of what you're getting at is like, and Corey, you started it out saying everybody's picking Texas because they've looked the best. And, Georgia has looked vulnerable. This year, it feels like that hasn't mattered. I mean, Texas might be that team, right? But everybody else seems like can beat anybody any given week. And this is Texas' first test. So it's very possible they get dragged down into that muck too. And it just becomes,
I mean,
that's a week game.
That's kind of where we're at. Yeah, I mean, this game could go a million different ways. Texas could blow out Georgia. Georgia could blow out Texas, or it could be a dog fight, pun intended. And Texas just comes back down to the pack and gets mixed in. And now you're saying, okay, is there an elite team in the SEC? And all the non-SEC people in the college football world are probably loving this right now because they're like, oh, we're only going to get one team in the playoff, which is not true. But
the Joe Klatts of the world
still going to get 4.
Yeah, you're getting 4. We don't know what 4 of those are, but you're getting 4.
Yeah.
One thing's for sure that I know it's not going to be Auburn. I mean, that's all I can guarantee at this
Or
point.
Mississippi State. It's not going to be Mississippi State. I think.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much out. They've got 5 losses, so they'll be right on the knife's edge of bowl eligibility after they get beat by Texas A&M this weekend.
Mm-hmm. And
by the way, Mississippi State fans celebrating the LSU win is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Somebody was literally celebrating, talking all kinds of noise, like, congratulations on your win in Baton Rouge. He's like, I'm not an LSU fan. I was like, I know.
Yeah. That's how a lot of Auburn fans were when Bama lost to, Vandy. So I know.
Yeah. It was like, I know.
Like, your team is garbage. Why don't you have no reason to celebrate?
Yeah. Moral Victory State University.
MVSU. Yeah, there you go. Here's an interesting question for you guys.
Interesting question for you, Corey.
Well, I'll start it off, but you guys can chime in too. But I mean, honestly, not a ton, but I think it's hurt a little bit. I think it's taken some of the focus out of there for sure.
Not enough team speed.
I'm like Dwayne Wade and you're LeBron James. I just flip it up. And
that was
good. Yeah,
that was a good one, Steve.
Good show, Corey. You're good for this. And
right,
Steve just ruined you.
All right, see you guys.
Oh man,
that was good.
What's going on with Colby Young? Is
he's suspended indefinitely? Unless he gets exonerated, I think he's done.
To me, I have a hard time saying it's like totally hurt the team because I think obviously, they've only lost one game this year. They only lost one game last year. Like, there's been some stuff going on. It's hard to say it's really impacted them on the field. But the one thing I will say, and I think Saban is the one who has said this among many others, but like, the best teams are player-led teams, right? Kirby can only do so much and trying to instill a certain culture. And he's been there long enough now that like the culture is where he wants it to be. Right. And then at some point you have to have your players step up and be leaders. And to me, the driving stuff, especially, I mean, the Colby Young and the Robert,
my knowledge, they're not losing too many times. I mean, I think they're getting first.
Right. And like the Colby Young and Robert Thomas, like that stuff is over the top, bad stuff. If it's all alleged true, but the speeding stuff is just like, you just got to have some players step up and be like, we're not doing this anymore, guys. Like, what are we doing? Right. And to Steve's point, it hasn't really showed up on the field, but maybe it's starting to this year. Maybe that's what some of the cracks are. I don't know.
I was saying they were winning their auto races. that was my point. They're not finishing second in those.
Yeah, they're definitely building a NASCAR team. That's for sure. But
they'd be darn good NASCAR.
The Richard Petty experience in Athens, Georgia.
I think, honestly, I think with all the distractions and everything that's happening, I think it'll take its toll. We'll see what kind of toll it takes from this point through the rest of the season because you're playing against obviously you're playing against Texas, who hasn't been tested, but they still are the top of the league. Then at some point you play Florida, you play Ole Miss, you play Tennessee, and you play Georgia Tech, who's playing some good football right now. All those teams can get up there and get you if you're not focused.
Are you worried that this is a Texas Bowl season for Georgia?
No.
Nah.
Like if Georgia loses to Texas, and essentially at that point, basically the Ole Miss Georgia game is potentially a play-in game for the playoffs. Potentially, the loser's out entirely.
Georgia will
It
have
could go
back-to-back
completely
playing
off.
Tennessee too.
Yeah, it could go completely off the rails at that point for the loser of that Ole Miss Georgia game.
Yeah, I think that game becomes of paramount importance if Georgia ends up losing to Texas this weekend. Yes, absolutely. I think we'll still get a decent bowl bid. I don't think it's gonna be like a Texas Bowl type deal, but I think I think 3 losses is worst case scenario, which is still a
Right.
pretty good season, but where the expectations were, it seems like it's a terrible season. But most people would kill to have a 9-3 season, but.
Before we get into picks, let me get this one. Ole Miss goes so quickly, Lane cannot call the plays. They need Charlie Weiss calling the plays for the quick turnaround type stuff. Lane doesn't have the time to completely run the offense. He basically has veto power. I think you will see a situation to where it looks remarkably similar to how it always has. But in the overtime period, for instance, the rumor is that Lane took over play calling in that overtime period that resulted in an offensive pass interference, a delay of game, and a 57-yard field goal. So I don't know that Lane is going to take over the play calling, but we'll see.
I think that would be that would seem like a desperate move and a move.
Yeah, they don't need to do that.
They don't need to panic.
On tomorrow's show, I actually did a breakdown. Jackson Dart has thrown 14 incompletions this season on passes that have been less than 10 yards downfield. And Ole Miss has already thrown more passes over 20 yards downfield than they did all of 2023. So if Ole Miss will just handle the middle of the field and go short to long, the big plays will happen and all of that, and things will start to make more sense. And Ole Miss has a chance to be a pretty good offense and get on track pretty consistently, because if Jackson Dart gets into a rhythm, we've all seen how good he can be.
Yeah.
Just get back to what you do.
Yeah,
You're away from your identity.
You've got to use that part of the field. That's what he does best. Get him in a rhythm and then let the offense kind of be what it is, because we've seen him be really good.
You're
You think they just kind of you think they just kind of started feeling themselves a little too much and started thinking they needed to be a big play offense? Or?
I think that Trey Harris is the best player in the entire country.
He's good.
And everybody knows he is, and especially Jackson Dart. And then if there's a tie and he's covered, they throw it up and it downfield. And they're relying on that too much at this point. I think Ole Miss, if they get off of that and just kind of let the offense run and do what they need to do, they're going to be fine. They're not far off. I mean, they've only trailed for like 7 minutes this whole season.
But before you get off that, could you have one of them call Tennessee and teach our quarterbacks how to throw it up?
It's kind of funny that we have really similar offenses. Although you do wonder if Tennessee's just teaching quarterbacks to run out of bounds.
Yeah, with no time left on the clock.
Yeah, that's the
strangest thing. What is
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? You throw a pick six? Who cares? It's the end of the game.
Let's play the game.
And
I
that
was
guy
going
was
for it.
open in the back of the end zone, man.
Oh.
Yeah, wide open.
God.
Yeah, Nico.
Well, that must be an epidemic, because they're teaching. It's not run out of bounds, but Ryan Day, they're just running up the middle and running the clock out, sliding with no time left on the clock at Ohio State. So
we can tell who's Joe Milton fans. That's for sure.
Hey, we got Will Levis with the Titans just running over, ball boys and people with chains and breaking the legs. So.
Oh, that poor guy. Yeah, that looked like that hurt.
had the air cast on.
He got pushed, but
Yeah.
It is interesting. It's like Mike Leach, rest his soul, said one time. He's you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. Whenever two players just run out of bounds at the end of the game, there's something kind of wrong.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, you know what time it is, guys?
Picks.
Picks.
These picks the lines are presented by betonline.ag. Let's get into it.
Dum, dum, dum,
Steve, that was your cue to give a quick little aside about pickles again.
Oh yeah. Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles. They sponsor all of our picks. I'll let you know they are fantastic. It's time to get locked on those pickles. Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles, that is. They offer a wide variety of Cajun spice products like pickles, green beans, okra, even carrots, and asparagus. This is a family-owned company on the coast of Mississippi. They've been pleasing pickle lovers for over 20 years, and they've become the South's favorite pickle. This is truly the best pickles you'll ever have. A strong dill flavor with a Cajun punch, no over sour taste. You can find these pickled products at pickledstore.com or in your local Rouse's Market or other Gulf Coast Southern stores near you. Be sure to like Stewart's Cajun Dill product on Facebook and Instagram. Try these pickles, okra, and beans today. You will not be disappointed. Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles, the South's favorite pickle.
All right. So, shall we? First game up on the docket. Auburn traveling to Mizzou. Auburn is 6.5-point underdogs. This is an interesting game because Missouri not exactly lighting the world on fire, but they're still super talented, and they've got Luther Burden. Auburn is Auburn. Steve, are you buying Auburn, or are you thinking Missouri takes this one easily?
Do I look like I have yellow wood on my head? No. I am not. The only yellow wood that's going to happen is going to be a Missouri helmet knocking them out. After the Texas A&M game, that was a wake-up call. They kind of got right against UMass. Hugh Freeze is due for another stinker or two this season. So Auburn fans, get ready because it's coming. I expect Brady Cook. I expect Brady Cook's going to kind of cut it loose a little bit, and they're going to get right before I think they head down to Tuscaloosa next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Brady is going to cook. Yeah, I'm picking Missouri. I thought about this one, and I was kind of on the fence of it when I went on SEC squad last night. And I picked actually my SEC squad's going to be Auburn, but I thought about it, and I'm like, Auburn's not going to win this game. Brady Cook's going to cook.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with y'all. I think Missouri was obviously they were ranked too high at the beginning of the season. I don't think they're as good as people thought, but honestly, I mean, they barely beat Vanderbilt, and we've learned since that Vanderbilt's actually a good team, and they did get just destroyed by A&M. I don't think anybody saw that coming, but I still think they're a good team. I do not think that about Auburn. So just one touchdown, I say they're gonna cover that.
Yeah, they just freaked out against A&M.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, I'm picking Missouri as well. And Hammer, you mentioned a couple of times already on this show previously, but I think Missouri is missing their long kicker. You know, the big boy kicking field goals. They kind of struggle with field goals this year. And going to Auburn real quick, guys. You know, Auburn needs a win desperately here, and because you look at their schedule. You know, I was looking at the schedule and I was thinking maybe they get UL Monroe. UL Monroe is 5-1 right now. They're really pretty good football team. So that's not an automatic win for Auburn right now either. And you still got A&M, Alabama, guys like that on that schedule. They need to win desperately, or that seat is going to get extremely hot for Hugh Freeze.
Now I've got to look that up.
Yeah, UL Monroe is 5-1.
Yeah, I think their only loss is to Texas.
Yeah,
they're not General Booty.
No, they're pretty good.
The
no, they're generally good.
Yeah, they're generally good. Yeah.
I like where this is going. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Becky is taking Missouri, by the way.
Cassidy is too.
Well, I'll buck the trend. I'm picking Auburn. Jake, you kind of touched on it there. I just think this is desperation. I don't think they win the game outright, but I think they can cover the spread coming off a bye. They can muck this game up. Hopefully, Jarquez Hunter gets more than 10 or 12 carries like he's been getting. But I think Auburn can cover this. And kind of another desperation heave, as you can see, standings wise. I need to make up some games on y'all, so I'll go with Auburn.
Hammer, before you give your take, Hammer, I watched y'all's guys show early, and you made that comment. That is a great point. Jarquez Hunter needs to be more focused in this offense, especially with all the turnovers that Peyton Thorne and Hank Brown has had, like you said. So I don't know why he's only getting 13 carries a game. It's almost like a similar situation a few years ago when they had Petway. I really thought Petway should have been the focus of that Auburn team, and they only gave him like 15 times a game as well. So Jacquez Hunter's got to take over this game, I feel like, and for Auburn the rest of the season.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree.
you know what's funny? If Gus Malzahn was the coach at the Auburn team, they'd have 2, maybe 3 losses. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
True.
Mm-hmm.
This game to me, first of all, is a makeup game as well. I was sitting pretty, looking hot early in the year, and I have fallen back to earth, and I'm way down in the standings now. So I'm trying to pick up some games on y'all. But also, I think Auburn has been right there. If they didn't have some of these turnovers that they've had, and Peyton Thorne's been turning the ball over, and some of the dumb decisions, like the 4th and 1 against Georgia, and things like that, Auburn's right there. And I think they're going to jump up and get somebody at some point. And to me, I've been watching Mizzou for a lot of weeks now, and they haven't looked that good. And they looked good against whoever it was, nobody last week, UMass, 45-3. Okay, throw that one away. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But in the games that have mattered, like against Boston College, against Texas A&M, and there's one more that I'm forgetting, but they've been so. This team is supposed to be super talented. They had a ton, like 70% of their production coming back, and they're coming off of a bowl win against Ohio State. Their fans are, riding high, feeling like this team should be a playoff team, and they have not looked like that one single time this year.
Yeah.
So Auburn, I know it's on the road. That's what's going to make it difficult, but I think Auburn can jump up and get them here as long as they're able to protect the ball. And that's a big, big if. But if they protect the ball, I think Auburn can win this game. So I'm going to take Auburn.
Auburn had a 14-point lead late in the game against Oklahoma and squandered it somehow.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've been in every game. California, they was in that game. So it's just a weird thing right now.
Auburn, their record could easily be flipped.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of Oklahoma, they host South Carolina, -2.5 favorites at home as they host the Gamecocks. Steve, are you buying South Carolina after that performance last week?
Kind of, but it's more than I'm not buying Oklahoma at this point. Oklahoma against Texas did not look like a competitive football team. And they have problems at the quarterback position, at the wide receiver position, on the offensive line. And if you have problems on that offensive line going against that South Carolina front, you're going to have problems. And this being a 2.5-point game, it's essentially a pick'em game. And that makes me wonder, do I think South Carolina is going to win this game outright? And honestly, I trust, believe it or not, Lenore Sellers more than I do Michael Hawkins at this point. And Sellers looked all right against Alabama. If they had a competent offensive coordinator a week ago, they beat Alabama. They do. They just go through these lulls to where nothing seems to happen, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But South Carolina should have probably won that game. I think South Carolina is going to get the win against Oklahoma and Norman.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. And for all the problems that South Carolina has, I think they have the advantage in the quarterback battle. I think they have the advantage in the pass rush, although I think Oklahoma's defense overall is slightly better. I think South Carolina's
definitely on the back end. They're definitely better on the back end.
Yeah, but South Carolina can get out after the passer, and I think that's all that's going to matter because they're not going to be able to push it down the field if Hawkins is running for his life. So I like South Carolina in this. I think they do enough to win. This will be an ugly game, but I do like South Carolina.
Oklahoma to be better with Jackson Arnold as the quarterback. I will die on that hill.
I think they might should have stuck with him. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I wanted to pick Oklahoma in this one too. I really did. South Carolina, I think they've lost a lot lately, just like Oklahoma has. But I mean, they barely lost to LSU. They played Alabama to the wire. Yeah, they had that game against Ole Miss where they just didn't show up at all for the game, which was crazy. But you're right. Oklahoma just has no offense, no offensive line. I'm with you. I think that Hawkins, I like him, but he's a true freshman. I'm not going to trust him to win. So I'm taking South Carolina to win that one outright.
Yeah, I'm taking South Carolina as well. And it has nothing to do with last week's performance. It's just, we talked about on this show, Stephen brought it up several times. The offensive line play for Oklahoma is just absolutely garbage. And Kennard was in our backfield a lot last week. And we have some pretty good playmakers up front. So he's going to be living in the backfield this week in Oklahoma. So give me USC here.
Yeah, Becky's taking Oklahoma, and I'm assuming that's just because she needs to make up games.
Cassidy's taking USC as well, South Carolina.
Yep. I'm rolling with the Gamecocks too. Same reason y'all said. I can't trust Oklahoma, their offense right now. I don't know why they're favored in this game. So I'll go with South Carolina.
Beamer ball. Give me South Carolina. I like what they've got going on right now. I like the momentum that they got from the Alabama game. I know that it's only horseshoes and hand grenades where it almost and maybes win, but they still were able to push Alabama to the wire. And I think this team has a lot of confidence. They pushed LSU to the wire. I mean, they have been right there in multiple games this year that they should have won. And right now, I'm with you guys. Oklahoma has not shown me anything to give me any confidence that they can win this game in terms of their offense. And with what South Carolina has on the defensive front, that should scare anybody, especially the Oklahoma folks who are watching tape and seeing what the South Carolina guys can do on that defensive front. So I'm taking South Carolina. I think they win this game outright. I think the only reason Oklahoma's favored in this one is because it's at home. But I'm taking the Gamecocks.
There you go. All right. So almost a complete clean sweep for South Carolina. That's pretty crazy. All right. Next game, Jeb. All right. This one is a Jeb special here. Alabama road favorites at Tennessee. Tennessee struggling a little bit. Alabama has a little bit of a confidence problem. Something's got to give here, Steve.
I think that the best defense on the field, believe it or not, is going to be wearing orange. And I think that them going against a weaker Alabama defense actually benefits them a little bit. So I think they're going to be probably 3 points better by the end of the day. Give me Tennessee.
I still think it's Bama right now. I think they're going to affect Nico. I don't think he has a full grasp of the offense. I still think Josh Heupel is playing quarterback inside of Nico's helmet. And so that concerns me a little bit. And just he's just this is not the week for him to all of a sudden get it, right? I think it's a season-long process, and I think this is going to be another bump in the road for Nico. He's an extremely talented quarterback. He's just not quite there with the Josh Heupel scheme, so I'm going to take Bama.
The real thing that needs to be worried about in this game is Nico's ball walk attire versus Kalen DeBoer's coaching shirt. That is going to be what determines this game.
Okay, well, advantage Nico then.
No. See, no. Nice. No, y'all don't understand. Heupel's had to go his whole time in Tennessee with everybody telling him he's just not good with defenses, building terrible ones. So this year, he's holding Nico back on purpose in all these games just to show off his defense. No, that would be
keep it off tape.
Yeah,
right. Strategy, Cotton. Bold strategy.
That's like, we're not opening it up because we don't want you to see what. No. Now Tennessee's defense is legit, and I've been very happy with it. It's the best defense we've had in many years. It's very impressive. The offense has not found a way to get it going. And like I said, I know Nico, he's a redshirt freshman. He's got time. I just don't think this is his year. But if they do find a way to figure out that offense, even just a bit, Alabama's defense isn't any better than some of these others we've seen so far. I feel like Tennessee could actually end up going off and having a really good game. I just am not going to bet on it. I unfortunately am taking Alabama in this one because I don't think we get our offense going enough to score enough to be able to beat Bama this week.
Does Tennessee avoid giving up explosive plays to the other team?
They've been better at that than I would have been. What I've thought. Our secondary was not weak. It was just very shallow coming into this season. Even lost one of our few playmakers we had in the preseason, before the season started. But so far they have done a great job compensating for that, especially with the pass rush. This week with Kalen DeBoer, his ability to move around, I do worry about that a lot. I know we saw Hawkins at Oklahoma, but he's still a freshman and couldn't throw as well. Jalen Milroe actually developed into a good quarterback. So, yeah, I think there will be a few. I don't think it's going to get overwhelming, but it'll be enough that Alabama scores enough that Tennessee just can't catch up with their offense the way it's been.
And Ryan Williams is 17.
Well,
did you know that?
Well, Jeb being a Tennessee guy is picking Bama. Me being a Bama guy, I'm picking Tennessee. I have zero confidence in this team right now. Jalen Milroe is great. We have some playmakers, but you only scored 27 points against South Carolina. You look terrible against Vandy. The defense has got issues galore. It's hyped up to be a really good defensive team this year. And the defensive line has been a lot better, but everywhere else, there's too many players out of position. That has come back to haunt us in a couple of games, especially against Vandy. Hurt us really against South Carolina, missing tackles. That's another issue. Talking about culture, there might be a little culture issue. Saban was no nonsense. We talk about this. He was no nonsense. Kevin DeBoer has opened it up and let the players, be free and do what they want. It's affecting the play now. I hate to say it, and I hate to be that guy, but it is affecting the play. This is what happens, I feel like, when you allow players to take over the program. You lose all stability, you lose all control, and it just gets crazy. And here we are. This is happening to Bama. Sorry, Rick and Bonnie. Until Alabama shows me something, I'm not going to pick them against this week. I feel like Nico's fixing to have a game of his life just because our defense has just been terrible the last several weeks.
And James Pierce against that offensive line after what they did a week ago against South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Tennessee doesn't have an offensive line either. So it's just Lance Hurd, man. I love him, but he looks slow and out of shape. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Hammer.
Yep. I'll give Rick and Bonnie a shout out here because I think the Bama run game with Milroe at the quarterback run game is going to be the difference. Bama has struggled to run the ball with their running backs for some reason. So I don't really know.
Give them the ball.
If they're right. I don't know what they'll do with that, but I think in this spot, as Stevie pointed out, I think explosive plays will be big. And I trust Milroe, whether it's with his legs or just escaping a pass rush, getting outside the pocket and making a big play downfield. I don't feel good about it, but I'm picking Bama to cover in this one. But yeah, this is a coin flip.
And Becky is taking Tennessee.
Yeah, she's Bama.
I'm gonna ride with Becky. I like the Vols in this one, and I have no good reason why. I mean, all of you guys have just gone through all the problems on both sides. I wouldn't feel good picking either of these teams right now.
Nope.
It's straight up or against the spread. The spread is very thin here at 2.5. But right now, you're watching both of these teams, and they're still ranked as high as they are because of the preseason rankings. But who knows if they're really that good? Either one of these teams is that good. I really don't know. They have the talent. Both of them have the talent to be this good, but they haven't really shown it over the last couple of weeks. So it's really a total toss-up to me. The only reason that I give Tennessee the edge in this game is because it's a Neyland Stadium.
Yep.
So I really don't know which way to go in this game. I don't feel good about picking either one of these teams. But because it's a Neyland Stadium, I'm going with Tennessee. I do think one thing to watch out for, which Hammer just talked about, the quarterback run game for Alabama. Keenan Pilley being out at linebacker for Tennessee
that
could
hurts.
be a serious issue for the Vols. So I'm really worried about that. But because it's in Neyland, I give the Vols the edge. So I'm going to take Tennessee and Josh Heupel to get a win here.
Okay. Interesting.
All right, let's kind of skip around a little bit. We only have about 8 minutes.
Okay, let's skip around then. Skip around. That's House of Pain's follow-up song to Jump Around. All right. So Ball State Vandy, we're all let's just rapid fire.
Well,
I'm gonna take Ball State because that's too many points. I don't believe Vandy. It's just weird seeing Vandy favored by 26 over anybody.
I'm riding with Vandy until I don't.
I'm riding. Sorry, go ahead, Jeb.
Oh no, I was going to agree with Corey. I'm going with Vandy just because I feel like they need a big game to show that they belong where they are right now. So this is a good game to come in and score a lot of points. I don't think they will, but I'm going to take them anyway.
I'm taking Ball State again. Like Stephen said, too many points, and Vandy loves to control the clock, and at halftime it'd be like 14-0, and you think that they're going to get to that 28-point margin. So I'll just take Ball State.
Yeah, and Becky takes the Fighting David Lettermans as well.
Yeah, and then a Hammer Boss Spinner on Ball State. All right, let's jump to Georgia, Texas. All right, this is the game of the week. Steve, Texas favored by 3.5. Are you horns up or horns down?
I think give me horns up on this one because they're fired up. The boys in Austin are going to be really jacked up in this game. I think Quinn Ewers, when he's on, is a very good quarterback. I don't think that there is a quarterback situation in Texas. I think Quinn Ewers is obviously the one right now. I think Arch Manning's hype is, if his name was Arch Jones, we would not be talking about him as much as we are right now. But I think Texas is going to take this game maybe by 2 scores.
Well, if this Sam Houston State game is of any indication, Sam Houston State is just stepping on their, the last quarter. So I'm hoping that's an indication of what's to happen in Austin. But no, Texas is going to be fired up. So is Georgia. I'm riding with the dogs. I'm horns down. This is a total homer pick. No reason whatsoever. I'm riding with the dogs, horns down.
Yeah, fortunately, it's just hard not to take Texas right now. They've looked like the best team in the SEC. They haven't played the talent, though. We'll see. And Georgia certainly has the talent to beat them. I'm not saying they can't. If I've got to pick one, I'm going to go with Texas right now until they show me a reason not to.
I said it earlier. Georgia's got to start out, hot in this game, and they haven't done it at all this season, and they need to in this game. I just don't see them doing it. So give me Texas.
Becky would never take Texas. She hates Texas with the fire of 1,000 suns. So she'd give her Georgia.
Cassidy has got Texas.
Shout out Becky. We're going horns down here as well. I think.
Nice.
Look, Kirby Smart as an underdog.
He's won like both of them.
It's exactly. It doesn't happen often, but he's actually a legit underdog in this game. And I think, I think Texas is very, very good. I expect this to be a really, really close game. Texas might win by a field goal, but if they do, Georgia would cover. So I'll take the dogs here. I think, Texas is going to see competition on both sides of the ball that they haven't seen yet all year. So I think this will be a very close game.
They're going to see competition in this game that they haven't seen in 5 years, honestly.
They haven't seen since the Sugar Bowl in 2008.
Yeah, that's right. Horns down for me too. And the reason to me is a lot of what you guys just said. Texas has not seen the competition yet that Georgia is going to bring. And this game to me reminds me a lot of Alabama versus Texas a couple of years ago before Texas came into the SEC. When they went into Texas and Bryce Young scrambled and they got out of there by the hair of their chin with a win. And I think they beat Texas by 2 on a last second field goal or something like that. It was
2019. One.
That's right. One. It was a close, tight game, hard fought the entire way through. That was when people started to really think, okay, Texas might actually be back. And then the next year they go into Bryant-Denny and beat Alabama. So to me, though, this game is more like that game from a couple years ago where you've got a team like Georgia who's got all that talent, who's expected to win. Now they're not favored in this game, but Georgia expects to win every game that they play, just like Alabama always does. So I think that in this game, Georgia has the talent. They're just a little bit too much for Texas. I think Quinn Ewers is going to struggle a little bit. Truthfully, he's been struggling a little bit. He struggled a little bit against Oklahoma. I think he's going to struggle against this Georgia defense. I think they're going to score points, but I think Georgia is able to hang with them and score a little bit more. So I'm taking the dogs in Austin.
Corey said he's picking because he's a homer, but I know why you guys are picking because you're homers too, because y'all
yeah. Hey, that's right.
That's fair.
And for all the Ole Miss fans watching this game, you need Georgia to win this game.
Yeah.
You pretty desperately need Georgia to win this game.
Yeah.
Rick and Bonnie said it best. Everybody needs Texas to lose this game.
I want them to win, so everybody has one loss. I like that.
Well, parity.
This is gonna be interesting. All right, so
it's weird that the only one that's probably rooting for Texas in this game is Oklahoma. It's like, oh, see,
right?
Yeah, not our fault. They're good.
We should hit on Arkansas LSU because that's a fun one.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, honestly. Arkansas hosting LSU. LSU is the road favorites. Steve, LSU's got a little bit of resurgence. They showed you something. Are you buying it, or was that just
I'm buying it more than I'm buying Arkansas at this point. Like I said, Ole Miss should have won that game. That game was gifted to LSU, but Nussmeier made plays. This was a tough dude that just competed all the way to the end. Bobby Petrino in Arkansas is they're going to compete. They're going to score points, but Taylor Green, is he the quarterback before Tennessee's cheap shot on him? That is what you have to figure out. I think LSU is going to get rolling on Arkansas's defense and be able to score some points. So give me the Tigers.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy them long term, but I buy them enough in this game to be able to do something. They've kind of struggled on the road, so I like to see kind of how they react. But it's such a small spread that I'm going to take LSU to win this one. They probably win by 10 to 14 points, I should say, and I think they get a win here.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Arkansas has not been great at getting to the quarterback, and Nussmeier's been playing pretty well with his offensive line, keeping him pretty clean. And I feel like that's going to happen here, and he's going to have a decent game. Arkansas, I mean, they were good, especially against Tennessee, at slowing the game down, kind of keeping our offense off the field. It really worked for them. But I don't think they're going to be able to do it as well against LSU because our offensive line was having trouble. LSU's is not. So I'm taking them, LSU to cover.
I'm taking Arkansas, and the reason being, Hammer Bossman, I'm stealing your guys' thunder again from your show tonight. You guys talked about Bobby Petrino having 2 weeks to prepare for this game. It's going to make a difference. Now, Nussmeier is a really good quarterback. He's playing out of his mind right now. But you give Bobby Petrino 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent, you're going to see probably some knickknacks that you hadn't seen yet from this Arkansas offense.
What about some patty wax?
Maybe, he might bring a motorcycle on the field. Who knows? I don't know what he might do. But
I would buy that T-shirt.
Yeah, I would think.
I would absolutely buy that T-shirt.
But I just think they're going to do enough to at least cover this spread here. So give me Arkansas.
Becky is taking the Hogs in that one, and we're all hoping that Hog Tua is okay and ready to go in this game.
Cassie's taking LSU.
Yep. Jake, you alluded to it there. I'm taking Arkansas. I think coming off of a bye, it's another night game. We just saw that atmosphere against Tennessee. And I think I liked what I saw from LSU's defense a week ago, obviously. I think, what they did against Ole Miss was better than I expected them to be able to do. But I'm still not convinced that they are a great defense, right? So I think, again, Arkansas can move the ball and score some points here and cover the spread or even upset them outright. So I'll take the Hogs.
Woo pig for me. I'm taking the Hogs as well. Jake, you touched on it. We talked a little bit about it on Biscuits and SEC Live. I just think that Bobby Petrino having 2 weeks to prepare for this team is a big deal. And LSU secondary played a lot better last week against Ole Miss. It's the best we've seen their secondary play. Yeah. And they took a couple of shots, but they bent and didn't break. And they were able to get to the quarterback a little bit better last week, which helped their secondary. But I still don't trust them. I don't trust their secondary. And Bobby Petrino he's been good all year. He's been good all throughout his career at getting shot plays, at getting those explosive plays. So I think they're going to be able to get some explosive plays against this LSU defense. And Hammer called it out on Biscuits SEC Live. I've never heard it called this, but Vietnam at night, baby.
That's what we called my hometown, Vietnam.
Vietnam. It is a tough place to play again at night. And it has been since Sam Pittman's been there. They beat Texas at night. They whooped Texas at night a couple years ago. And then we just saw them beat Tennessee at night. And now you got LSU coming off this big high win. Arkansas is coming off a bye week. And they've got them at home, and you got them at night. I just really like this spot for Arkansas here. I think LSU is a good team, and I think this is going to be a knife fight in a phone booth all night. But I think Arkansas comes out on top, probably by a field goal or so.
Yeah. Vietnam, that's a Bill King special.
Yeah. Arkansas is another team that, they looked abysmal in that fourth quarter against Oklahoma State, but they could be undefeated right now as well.
Yeah, they could.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. We're all on A&M for good reason. Mississippi State is relatively garbage, and A&M has found something with Mike Elko, and I think they're starting to get into a groove. Last game.
The last game that we're talking about is this Florida game that's coming up, but Dan Mullen ruined one of my favorite jokes of all time. And this is that week that I actually get to talk about that. Mm-hmm. And the joke was that the Atlantic would beat Florida before Kentucky would, and now Kentucky's won 5 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're looking.
Dan Mullen for that.
Yeah.
So does Florida end the streak, Steve?
I think so. Honestly, Florida's favored by 2.5 points. This is going to be DJ Lagway's show for the first time. I think now that Billy Napier doesn't have to play whatever he was playing with Graham Mertz before that and can kind of turn it loose, I think you'll see this offense kind of get going. The defense has been playing pretty well. Kentucky's offense is absolutely horrible. Their defense is okay. I think Florida in the swamp is going to win this game.
Yeah, Kentucky has no identity offensively. Vanderbilt really exploited that, and defensively, they just can't hold up when your offense just can't produce. So I'm gonna take Florida.
I am gonna actually go the other way here. I feel like Kentucky's offense isn't good, but Florida's defense is bad, and I think Kentucky's gonna actually be able to control this clock a bit and kind of grind this game down. And I just don't trust a true freshman at quarterback. You know, he threw a couple picks against A&M. He wasn't great against Tennessee the little time he played. When I actually got to watch him, he's got all kinds of potential. I think he's another one.
He did throw a heck of a pass at the end of regulation.
Yeah, he did.
Oh yeah, he'll be a great quarterback at some point. I don't think it's right now though.
Yeah.
I think Kentucky can get this one, and I'm going to take them to win.
I'm taking Florida. Now, like it was mentioned that he's not playing a 2-quarterback system. He can fully trust DJ Lagway with this offense now. It seems that when you play a 2-quarterback system, your offense kind of struggles to find an identity.
Because you're
now you have
down what what the real issue is, and you can't pick a quarterback, so you can't pick a scheme to fit that quarterback.
Exactly. Now you got DJ Lagway. You know what he does well. He's going to fit that offense and mold around him, and Kentucky's got issues big time. And really, Mark Stoops and Billy Napier needed a win here, and giving Billy Napier to get a big win in this situation.
Be on the lookout for split zone read with DJ Lagway in this football game. Yeah, I think you're going to see that make a resurgence for the first time since Anthony Richardson.
That's a good point.
I'm taking the Gators too. I think they need this win. You look at the rest of their schedule, I think everybody else on their schedule is ranked currently with the exception of FSU. So they got to have this one. It's at home. I'll take the Gators.
All right.
I'm taking the Gators as well. And I think they found a little something last week against Tennessee. I think their defense looked a lot better. And I know DJ Lagway's a young quarterback, so it's going to be tough for him in his first start and his first full game, but he's super talented. And I just think Kentucky's like, right now. I just don't trust Kentucky. I know Florida's not good either, but the fact that this is also in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium gives me the Gators. It tells me that the Gators are going to win this game. I think it'll be close. I think it's going to be 5 yards in a cloud of dust type game, and it's going to be a grinder the whole time. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take Florida. I think they get a big win at home.
Yeah, Becky's taking Kentucky for some reason.
And Cassie's got Florida.
And Steve's got the Atlantic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right.
I'm so mad at Dan Mullen for that.
That's good. That's going to do it from
He's going to dress up as Halloween this year.
From Nashville to Florida to Texas to Vietnam. We are the SEC After Dark podcast. We thank you for joining us. We hopefully we hang your team in the Louvre next week. So Ole Miss against the bye. Who you got, Steve?
It's a pick 'em right now with an over and under of 0.5.
Okay. I'm taking BYE in that one. So all right. That'll do it for us. For Boss Man and Hammer, check out Biscuits and SEC Live. That is a great
show.
If you aren't on it, you're missing out. Check out Jeb at Olin Mills. Check out Jake at Tide Talk Live, the best Bama show out there, in my opinion. And it's soon to come to this channel. Maybe stay tuned on that one. Jake will have updates as he goes. And Stephen Willis, I think you're up to like 14 million subscribers now at this point.
Pretty much.
And I didn't know 14 million people were crazy about Ole Miss, but it is what it is.
I had like 15,000 people at the post-game show this weekend. It was a good weekend for me.
I think it's 14 million people was crazy about Steve, is what it is.
That's what it is.
Right.
I pissed so many people off that they turn in just to be mad at me. I love
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Steve is a local. So Steve is no. He's started to become a national celebrity. But
He is.
then you got me, who I used to could say that I covered both ends of the spectrum on the.
Well, you do. You cover Georgia and you cover Vandy, right?
Oh.
Oh, that's twice.
Oh.
Third degree burns on that one. All right, but yeah, I'm up to even subscribers on both channels. I got 450 and some change.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah.
There you go.
Then everybody that's listening to this show and watching it, go subscribe to Locked On Vandy and get him to 500 so we can partially monetize his channel and he can start making money from this.
But not the Georgia one.
Yeah.
Hit both of them. Why not? While you're at it. All right, so that's going to do it. We'll see you back here next week. Better than ever. Follow us, like, subscribe, like all of our channels, like all of our accounts. And let's get it done. Hope your team has a great week this week, unless you're Texas. Horns down. Go Dogs. Anchor down.
Howdy toddy.
Go Vols.
Roll Tide.
Good
Jacob.
night.